Hello and welcome to the Expert Podcast, brought to you by PayExpert. My name is Rosa Cabrera, your host for today's conversation. This session will cover off third-party app integration, an exciting topic for merchants who want to integrate a payment gateway into an e-commerce. So today, I'm delighted to be joined by a special guest. I'm very pleased to welcome Michal Kucera, Senior Software Engineer at PayExpert with over 5 years of experience in the fintech industry. He has been helping companies with architecting digital payment microservices and integrating them with banking systems, such as the Bank of England with Chat or Alipay. Welcome, Michal, and thank you for speaking with us today.
Hey, Rosa, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And before we get into the conversation and the questions, I will set the scene. When shopping in an e-commerce, a hosted payment gateway acts as a third party, so it requires customers to leave the website to complete the purchase. When the transaction data is processed by a third party, the customer is redirected back to the merchant's website. Although there are many other platforms like PayExpert that allows a customer to shop without leaving the website at all. So to integrate any third-party tool or service into a website, first, you need to study the architecture and read its documentation. Secondly, you also need a developer guide for that service, right? So having said that, I'd like to turn to Michal with a fundamental question. Can you tell us what is a third-party integration?
Thanks for the question, Rosa. Third-party integration basically means that we take one technological solution that already exists and connect it to our own system through its API layer. Once this is done, we can start using it and benefit from its additional business values. For instance, this may enable our customers to perform a new type of payments, or we can simply experiment with new stuff without spending a lot of time on the development itself.
I see. So can you tell to our listeners what or who can be a third-party provider?
Basically, it is an external entity that provides their customers with some integration or service. It might be whatever we use in our day-to-day life. For example, an email service or maps or even a payment gateway, as you mentioned before. To explain how it works, we can take Google as a very known authentication provider. As you know, there is plenty of websites out there where we can sign in with our Google account, because these websites are integrated into Google, right?
Seems like this choice makes it way easier for website visitors.
Yes, because they have to create only one regular account at Google, and they can use it in other websites almost immediately. On the other side, very similar logic applies to websites themselves. They don't have to reinvent a wheel. Instead, they just can pick a right provider and profit from their services. In other words, this allows companies to move faster, and that's nowadays the key.
I see. So maybe some of our listeners are not very familiar with this topic. Can you tell us briefly what exactly do third-party apps do?
In general, such an interconnection with third-party providers powers us with new features, and we can almost effortlessly start using them right away. It might indeed sound remarkable, but there are obviously several technological and economical ups and downs on this road of each
Um,
integration.
oh, sure, I can imagine, but like what? Can you mention an example of an ups and downs or?
Sure, there are factors such as the time required for making the integration done. Some integrations can be implemented within 2 weeks, and other need even up to 6 months of hard work. Also, critically important is the level of the support from the third party itself. What will they do if something goes? Will they respond to our requests within 24 hours, or will it take 2 weeks to get resolved a super simple issue? You know, for us, this might cost a customer lose though.
Yeah, for sure. It might cost a customer. Yeah, you are right. So in terms of payment gateways, can you explain to the audience why third-party integrations are so important?
Usually, the goal of third-party integration is to save us the time, money, and switch our focus to our priorities only. But payment gateway is a very specific case in terms of its requirements, though. For example, we need to ensure that the regulatory aspects are met, or the client's data are stored safely, or the connection to the payment gateway itself is well secured, or its availability and reliability is at a very high level, and many other things. I'd say by using a third-party provider, we can basically get rid of the mentioned set of problems because it becomes the responsibility of the provider party to deal with them.
Sure. So in other words, integrations allow us to move faster to the market with a rich amount of new fancy features.
Yes, indeed, Rosa. However, on the other hand, we might get a new set of problems that we wouldn't have if we didn't use a third party, right? So, for instance, some banking systems require a certification. It means that before going to production, we have to perform various amount of integration tests with them, and this might take some extra time, especially if we are not well prepared.
Sure. And Michal, as I was saying at the beginning of the podcast, you have more than 5 years of experience in the fintech industry. Can you tell us a challenging case for you to integrate this method?
Sure, I might have a few in my pocket. Let me tell you this one about when I was working on an integration to a new payment system provider. We were supposed to handle around 5 million of our customers back then. After 6 months of development, we finally got done the first half of the solution in-house, while for the second half, we decided to use a provider's integration as we wanted to cut the overall cost and risk down as much as we could. After we tried this new feature out in production, it became very successful within real customers, and we decided to replace the third party with our own implementation, as we already knew that we may now invest more to this part of the system. So you can clearly see on this example that by taking advantage of third-party integration is a great benefit. Like we made it pretty fast to the production, and most importantly, we saw the potential of the market itself by paying a very low price for this experience.
Wow, that's so interesting. There are certainly many challenges in while integrating a third-party app. And based on your experience, we can clearly see what a huge added value such an integration can supply us with. Would you like to add any comments about the third-party apps? A final comment?
Yes, third-party integration isn't a silver bullet though, and we shouldn't, in any case, under any circumstances, jump into there head first. Each integration team has to carefully take the pros and cons into account and make a right decision. I really like the motto of Pay Expert, which says that it pays to choose the right partner, because that's exactly how it works in this case.
Nice. It was so fascinating. It was a very interesting talk, Michal. I'm sure the listeners will enjoy it for sure. And we hope to see you back again in another episode here at the Expert Talks. Big thank you, Michal, for joining us today.
Thank you, Rosa, for having me here. I truly enjoyed it.
Thank you. And to all of our listeners, big thank you for listening. If you liked the podcast, please share. And we will speak again soon. Goodbye.
Cheers.